The alien wolves were a marvel of the galaxy, a sentient, wolf-like species revered for their intelligence and unparalleled abilities. Known for their telepathic connections, these creatures were capable of communicating across great distances, fostering understanding among diverse species. Beyond their intellectual prowess, the wolves played a crucial role in maintaining ecological balance on the planets they inhabited. Their presence ensured the survival of countless ecosystems, making them indispensable to the galactic biosphere. They were more than just allies, they were keystones of galactic stability, their contributions spanning trade, diplomacy, and environmental stewardship. Despite their strength and utility, the wolves were not invulnerable. Their deep connection to their habitats made them reliant on the planets they nurtured, creating a fragile dependence. They were noble yet vulnerable, a species that commanded respect but also evoked a profound sense of responsibility. Their plight was not just their own, it threatened the delicate equilibrium of the galaxy. When the betrayal came, it struck not only at the wolves but at the very ideals of unity and cooperation that the galaxy claimed to uphold. The betrayal unfolded with a calculated coldness. Galactic powers, blinded by greed and short-term gains, turned their gaze toward the wolves' home world. Rich in untapped resources, the planet became a target for ruthless exploitation. Promises of preservation and coexistence were quickly discarded in favor of mining operations that devastated the wolves' natural habitat. The lush forests and crystalline waters that had once been their sanctuary were reduced to desolate wastelands, leaving the wolves vulnerable and exposed. As their home crumbled around them, the wolves sought aid from their galactic allies. Pleas for intervention echoed across star systems, carried by their telepathic cries, but the response was silence. Political dynamics within the Galactic Council favored inaction. To intervene would mean challenging powerful corporations and risking the fragile alliances that held the Council together. Publicly, leaders expressed regret and helplessness. Privately, they calculated the profits of inaction. The wolves, once valued for their contributions, were now abandoned in their time of greatest need. Their numbers dwindled, their resilience eroded, and their trust shattered. The galaxy watched as the wolves teetered on the brink of extinction, but one human could not look away. A researcher with a deep connection to the wolves, forged through years of study and mutual respect, refused to accept the injustice. The protagonist had witnessed firsthand the wolves' intelligence, their capacity for empathy, and their essential role in the galaxy's balance. This wasn't just a fight for a species, it was a fight for morality, a stand against the apathy and greed that had taken root in the galactic order. Driven by a profound sense of responsibility and fueled by a moral compass that refused to align with the Galactic Council's indifference, the human made a bold decision. They would act, not as a representative of humanity but as a solitary force against betrayal. Risking their career, their freedom, and even their life, the protagonists began to plan a mission that would defy the galaxy's powerful elite. Their determination was clear: if no one else would stand for the wolves, then they would. This resolve, born of compassion and courage, set the stage for a story of defiance and redemption that would echo across the stars. The plan to save the alien wolves was as audacious as it was desperate. The protagonist, aware of the powerful forces aligned against them, crafted a strategy that relied on a mix of resourcefulness, cunning, and sheer determination. The mission would involve infiltrating a heavily guarded facility where the surviving wolves had been captured and transported as specimens, to be sold or experimented on. Using their expertise in stealth technology and a network of sympathetic allies, the protagonists began assembling the tools and personnel needed for the operation. A former smuggler, familiar with galactic trade routes and evasion tactics, agreed to pilot the stolen transport ship. An exiled alien engineer offered to modify the ship with cloaking devices and escape protocols, understanding the stakes involved. Even a biologist who had studied the wolves lent their expertise, providing insights on how to communicate with the creatures and ensure their survival during extraction. The team worked in secrecy, knowing that any misstep could bring galactic patrols crashing down on them. The stakes were immense. The wolves were being held on a desolate planet in a facility surrounded by hostile terrain and patrolled by ruthless mercenaries. Breaking in would mean breaching the defenses without alerting the guards, navigating through hazardous traps, and locating the wolves amidst the chaos. The plan relied on precision, timing, and trust in the team's abilities. As the day of the mission approached, the tension mounted, and every detail of the operation was rehearsed again and again. Failure was not an option. The wolves' survival depended on the team's success. The journey to the facility was fraught with peril. The protagonists and their team faced constant challenges, beginning with a close encounter with a Galactic Patrol ship. Forced to execute an emergency detour, the team barely avoided detection thanks to the smugglers' skillful maneuvering. As they approached the planet, the harsh environment revealed its dangers: volatile weather systems, treacherous terrain, and hostile wildlife that threatened to expose their presence. Navigating the planet's surface was a trial in itself. The team had to avoid detection by mercenary patrols, often hiding in caves or beneath camouflaged tarps to escape aerial surveillance. On one occasion, a malfunction in the cloaking device nearly gave them away, forcing the engineer to perform an emergency repair while the team stood guard. The constant tension weighed heavily on everyone, and doubts crept into even the most resolute minds. Ethical dilemmas added another layer of complexity. During a reconnaissance mission, the team discovered a group of wolves held in a remote enclosure, separate from the main facility. Rescuing them would jeopardize the entire mission, but leaving them behind felt like a betrayal of the very cause they fought for. The protagonists, torn between pragmatism and compassion, made the painful decision to stick to the plan, promising to return for the others if they succeeded. The rescue itself was a breathtaking combination of precision and chaos. Under cover of darkness, the team breached the facility's outer defenses using a combination of stolen access codes and improvised explosives. Moving swiftly through the corridors, they encountered resistance from mercenaries and automated security drones. The protagonist led the charge, using diversionary tactics to draw attention away from the team while they advanced toward the wolves' holding area. When they finally reached the enclosure, the sight was heart-wrenching. The alien wolves, once majestic and proud, were confined to sterile, oppressive cages. Their eyes, filled with a mix of fear and defiance, locked onto the intruders. The biologists stepped forward, using calming signals and telepathic techniques to communicate the team's intentions. Slowly, the wolves began to trust, their tense postures relaxing as they realized these strangers were there to help. As the team worked to free the wolves, alarms blared throughout the facility, signaling their discovery. Mercenaries swarmed the corridors, and the protagonist made a split-second decision to hold them off while the team completed the extraction. Armed with little more than determination and improvised weapons, they engaged in a desperate fight, using the facility's layout to outmaneuver the attackers. The moment of triumph came as the last wolf was loaded onto the transport ship. The protagonist, battered but unyielding, made a daring escape, evading the pursuing mercenaries and rejoining the team. As the ship ascended into the atmosphere, carrying the wolves to safety, a mix of relief and exhaustion swept over everyone. The sight of the wolves, free and alive, was a testament to their efforts and sacrifices. The escape was no less perilous than the rescue. The transport ship, pursued by mercenary fighters, navigated a dangerous asteroid field while cloaked, relying on the smugglers' expertise to avoid detection. The engineers' modifications held steady, allowing the ship to slip away undetected. As they entered hyperspace, the team finally allowed themselves a moment to breathe. The rescue had been a success, but the journey was far from over. The wolves were safe for now, but their future, and that of the galaxy, remained uncertain. The protagonist, gazing at the rescued creatures, knew that the fight for justice and redemption had only just begun. The rescue of the alien wolves sent shockwaves through the galaxy. News of the mission and the betrayal it exposed spread like wildfire, sparking outrage among ordinary citizens and smaller planetary alliances. The Galactic Council, initially dismissive, found itself at the center of a political firestorm. Public opinion turned against the Council's inaction and the corporations involved in exploiting the wolves' home world. Facing widespread criticism and growing dissent, the Council reluctantly acknowledged the injustice. Investigations were launched, and some of the most egregious offenders were brought to trial, though many questioned whether this was merely an attempt to save face. The wolves, though traumatized by their ordeal, began the slow process of rebuilding. Relocated to a secure sanctuary with the help of the protagonist's allies, they worked to re-establish their society. The wolves' unique telepathic abilities allowed them to communicate their gratitude, forging an unbreakable bond with humanity. In time, the wolves formed an alliance with humans, vowing mutual protection and cooperation. Their story became a symbol of resilience and the power of unity in the face of adversity. The protagonist's actions left an indelible mark on the galaxy. Their daring rescue not only saved a species but also reshaped perceptions of humanity. Once viewed as insignificant players in the galactic order, humans were now seen as courageous and principled, willing to stand against even the most powerful forces for what was right. However, the victory came at a cost. Injured during the mission and labeled a renegade by the Galactic Council, the protagonist was forced into exile. Despite the personal losses, they carried no regret, knowing their actions had made a difference. Their courage inspired a wave of resistance against corruption and injustice across the galaxy. Citizens, once apathetic, began to question the status quo and demand accountability. Other marginalized species, emboldened by the wolves' survival, found the strength to stand up for themselves. The protagonist's legacy became a rallying cry, proving that even the smallest acts of defiance could spark monumental change. The story of the alien wolves and their human savior became a beacon of hope. It underscored the importance of standing up for the vulnerable and the transformative power of compassion and courage. The bond forged between humanity and the wolves served as a reminder that even in the darkest moments, unity and determination could overcome betrayal and forge a brighter future.